إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله اللهم صل على محمد أشهد أن عليا ولي الله اللهم صل على محمد أشهد أن عليا حجة الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله صلوات
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم إني أسألك موجبات رحمتك وعزائم مغفرتك والنجاة من النار ومن كل بلية والفوز بالجنة والرضوان في دار السلام وجوار نبيك محمد عليه وآله السلام. اللهم ما بنا من نعمة فمنك، لا إله إلا أنت، أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. صلوات. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله، أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله، أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أشهد أن عليا حجة الله صلوات الله وسلامه عليه. حي على الصلاة، حي على الصلاة، حي على الفلاح، حي على الفلاح، حي على خير العمل، حي على خير العمل. قد قامت الصلاة، قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر، لا إله إلا الله. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب. صلاة العشاء. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، الرحمن الرحيم، مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين، اهدنا الصراط المستقيم، صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد، لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده، سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته أقوم وأقعد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. الله أكبر. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم ارزقنا توفيق الطاعة وبعد المعصية. اللهم عجل لوليك الفرج. اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وتقبل شفاعته وارفع درجته. بحول الله وقوته أقوم وأقعد. سبحان الله سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله والله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته أقوم وأقعد. سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله والله أكبر. سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله والله أكبر. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. يا لطيف ارحم عبدك الضعيف. الله أكبر. بسم الله وبالله الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم إنه ليس لي علم بموضع رزقي وإنما أطلبه بخطرات تخطر على قلبي فأجول في طلبه البلدان فأنا فيما أنا طالب كالحيران لا أدري أفي سهل هو أم في جبل أم في أرض أم في سماء أم في بر أم في بحر وعلى يدي من ومن قبل من وقد علمت أن علمه عندك وأسبابه بيدك وأنت الذي تقسمه بلطفك وتسببه برحمتك اللهم فصل على محمد وآله واجعل يا رب رزقك لي واسعا ومطلبه سهلا ومأخذه قريبا ولا تعنني بطلب ما لم تقدر لي فيه رزقا فإنك غني عن عذابي وأنا فقير إلى رحمتك فصل على محمد وآله وجد على عبدك بفضلك إنك ذو فضل عظيم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد عجل Recite salawat, please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wajjil farajahum. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وعجل فرجهم وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين واللعنة الدائم على أعدائهم أجمعين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. For the love of our beloved Prophet and his beloved progeny, please recite a second loud salawat. Allahumma salli ala. For the hastening in the return of our beloved 12th Imam, a third final loud salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. We had reached these lines in Khutbatul Muttaqeen of our beloved first Imam, in which he speaks about the characteristics of the Muttaqeen, the characteristics of those who are the special servants of Allah, especially when others come to them with praise. This is something that in many ways tests the human being in situations where generally he is a good person. When you're not a good person, there are tests for you. When you are generally a good person, there are also tests for you. And so this is something that goes hand in hand with a night like this that we are celebrating the birth of the beloved daughter of Ali ibn Abi Talib, Lady Zainab, salamullahi alayha, salawatullahi alayha. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajil farajahum. Because someone like Lady Zainab, her family, mother, father, all of them, they were very high in their status. And somehow, some way, they were still very humble. It's easy to be humble when you're not doing so well. It's not that difficult. You know, it's not difficult for me to be humble. I just remember the wrong things I do, and it's easier for me. It's not difficult for me to say why I need Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy, why I need His forgiveness. That's easy. When it comes to families like that and individuals like that, that's when it's really special. Because in reality, we know that this person is very high in his status. Someone like Lady Zainab, we know she's very high in her status. And yet, it's a family who's extremely humble. So tonight's topic actually directly correlates with individuals like her and her father and her mother as well. These lines of Khutbatul Muttaqeen were explaining to us that when the muttaqeen, when people come to them and they start to praise them and they say good things about them, which all of us will be in this position at one point or another in our lives, it explains for us how they react to this situation. So going back to do a quick review, they said, فَهُمْ لِأَنفُسِهِمْ مُتَّهِمُونَ. They are individuals who constantly look at themselves first. Ittiham, tuhmat, right? Usually means what? To accuse yourself. In this context, it means that these are individuals that if they want to hold someone accountable, they hold themselves accountable first. There was an argument, there's a difference of opinion. They look at themselves first. Doesn't mean it's always their fault. But they never walk into a situation, this is their fault. It's not us, it's not my problem. No, they always look at themselves first. فَهُمْ لِأَنفُسِهِمْ مُتَّهِمُونَ وَمِنْ أَعْمَالِهِمْ مُشْفِقُونَ. And when it comes to their deeds, they're not so confident. They don't sit back and say, well, I've done enough. When the day of judgment comes, I have nothing to worry about. They never take that approach. At the end of the day, they have this little worry in their hearts. They have this concern in their hearts. Okay. Then it moves on to this characteristic. When others praise them, how do they react? This is very important. Very important. And believe it or not, it ties in a lot with social media. Social media has a big role to play in all of this. I don't want to go into that right now. The first Imam says, إِذَا زُكِّيَ أَحَدٌ مِّنْهُمْ. When someone comes to them and does tazkiyah of them, which means praises them, which means says, MashaAllah, you're such a wonderful person. MashaAllah, you've done so much. MashaAllah, you have such a good heart. Your soul is so pure. If the doors of heaven were open right now, you would be the first one entering. All of these things. These praises that we throw at each other sometimes, right? إِذَا زُكِّيَ أَحَدٌ مِّنْهُمْ. When one of them receives praise in this way, خَافَ مِمَّا يُقَالُ لَهُ. He is fearful of what is being said to him.
Meaning that when he hears praise, of course everyone likes praise, but this person is a person, when he hears praise, he gets concerned. It's a very different approach from what we're taught in this society. خَافَ مِمَّا يُقَالُ. He starts to get worried. Why does he start to get worried? Because he knows deep down this praise that he's being showered with is not 100% true. People are being kind. People are being nice. People are praising you for a couple things that you did, a couple things that I did. But this muttaqi, deep down, he knows the flaws that he has. خَافَ مِمَّا يُقَالُ لَهُ. And he's also worried for him to even believe the things that people are telling him. He gets worried because he knows, if I actually believe the things that people tell me, you're wonderful, you're like this, you're like that, well then I'm going to have trouble. Because I have issues and now I'm not even acknowledging them because I'm accepting what people are telling me. خَافَ مِمَّا يُقَالُ لَهُ. So what does he say? How does he react? It's two-stage reaction. 2 points he reminds himself of when he hears praise. First thing, فَيَقُولُ أَنَا أَعْلَمُ بِنَفْسِي مِنْ غَيْرِي. He says, I know myself better than others know me. I know who I am. Yes, I did this good deed. I took this good step. They're showering me with praise. Okay, no problem. Praise as a topic, we're going to talk about it momentarily. But they're kind. They want to show their appreciation, so on and so forth. They're praising me, but I know who I am. Just because they're praising me, they say, you're wonderful, you're awesome. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't have been able to do this. All of these things. That's what they're seeing of me. They don't see what I see of me. I know better who I am. I know the flaws that I have. I know those times when no one else is looking what I do. So he doesn't let the praise of others, make him forget about the real issues that he has. Yes, he appreciates the praise, but deep down he says, فَأَنَا أَعْلَمُ بِنَفْسِي مِنْ غَيْرِي. I know exactly who I am. I'm the same one. My wife or husband says something, I lose my cool. I lose my temper. I'm the same one. When it really comes down to it, my intentions may not be so sincere. So he remembers those things. Okay, that's number one. Then it moves on. He says, number two, وَرَبِّي أَعْلَمُ بِي مِنِّي بِنَفْسِي. Not only do I know myself better than other people know me, that's stage one. Level number two is God knows me better than I know me. There are flaws that I have that I'm not even aware of. Forget about people. People, they don't know about me as much as I know about me. That was level number one. I know more than them. But guess who knows more than me? God knows more about me than I know about me. There are flaws that I have that I just don't know about them yet. Why? Because, for example, the situation where this flaw presents itself, I have not been tested with before. You look at people sometimes. We look at people with this judgmental, approach at times. We look at someone who's being tested with a difficult test, and they're flunking the test, for example, not passing the test. We look at them and say, this guy, the test he doesn't realize God is testing him. And the reality is, if we're placed in that same situation, we would be exactly like him or worse. So there are flaws that you and I have. We don't even know about them. Just in the right position, in the right situation, they will pop up. Yes? You've heard this story, famous story of Ayatollah Bahjat. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless his soul. That this was during the Iran-Iraq war. Yes, that was taking place. And one of the customs that the people who were fighting the war had was that they used to come back to Qom and Tehran and these places, and they used to visit with the scholars. So one of these individuals came back who was fighting on the front lines, and now he had come back to Qom to visit Ayatollah Bahjat. Right? And this is almost 30, 35, 40 years ago, right? So he was a lot younger at that time. And this person, he actually studied in the school that we studied in Qom. So when you entered into the school, the hallway, you would see pictures of shuhada. And one of them was this individual. His name was Shaheed Mustafa Rastani Pur. That was his name. He came and he was sitting with Ayatollah Bahjat, and Ayatollah Bahjat, and he was explaining to Ayatollah Bahjat how they had really dealt a blow to Saddam and his commanders in a particular, mission that they had carried out. And he went on and on, and he said, we taught him a lesson. And of course, this war was a very, unfair war. Very unfair war. I mean, I can't even go into explaining how unfair it was. The facilities you had on one side, the capabilities you had on one side, and what you had on the other side. Not even comparable with one another. I'll leave that for another time. So he went on and on. We really put him down, and we really taught him a lesson. And we really put Saddam in his place. And then the people around him said, when he said this line, Ayatollah Bahjat raised his head, and he looked him in the eye, and he said, Mustafa. It's like he's the age of his younger son, right? He said, Mustafa, every one of us has a Saddam inside of himself. Every one of us has a Saddam inside of ourselves. You keep saying you taught him a lesson, all of this is wonderful. But don't forget this. The reality is, I have a Saddam inside of myself too. So why don't I act like Saddam? Well, I haven't been presented with the opportunity. Like, I don't have this whole political party and people who follow me and all that kind of stuff. Maybe if I'm placed in a situation like that, maybe I start acting like who? Like the Saddams and the Fir'auns of the world. So number one, they say that this person doesn't know me as well as I do. Number two, they say, you know what? Even I have flaws people don't know about. Scholars give this analogy. They say the soul and the flaws that it has is like a little pond that you come across, or a little puddle of water that you come across. And all the dirt and the trash and all the filth, it's sunk down to the bottom. When you look at the water, it's very clear, looks very clean. Like you can even see yourself, your reflection in the water, and so on and so forth. Only thing it takes, though, is someone stirring up this water. Then the filth that starts to show itself, then you're like, oh, there's all this filth down here. And these are things Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows about us. So when it comes to the praise that they receive from others, they are very careful. And this is why in Islam, the praise that you show to another person, in Islam, there is specific recommendations about it. About when you praise someone, how to praise them. Because hadith says, when you praise someone and you just go on and on, the hadith says, this is like, and this is mentioned in multiple hadith, it's like you are doing dhabh of them. Dhabh, it's like you are slaughtering them. In other words, what the hadith is trying to say is like you're killing them. You are doing a disservice to them when you shower them with this much praise. This is not the praise of a wife and a husband. They said, thank you so much. You work so hard. No, not this kind of stuff. Yes, that we need a lot more of. Yes, we need to shower each other more with these types of things. We're talking about you are so high in the eyes of Allah. The angels, they walk underneath, that kind of stuff. You are definitely in heaven. Your place is definitely in heaven. The hadith says, إِيَّاكُمْ وَالْمَدْحَ فَإِنَّهُ الذَّبْحُ. Stay away from just showering one another with praise, because it's like you're slaughtering this person. In reality, if he were to believe what you are saying about him, you're doing a big disservice to him. You can appreciate his work, but just praising him, you have to be careful in those areas. And this is why in multiple ahadith, our imams have said that a true mu'min, a true believer, is the one who reaches a point in his life where the praise of others and the criticism of others does not bother him to his core. When people say bad things about him, he doesn't get so frustrated about them. When people say good things about him, it's not like he's like, outside of this world, just so happy about it. No, it doesn't affect him like that. Amongst those hadith is this hadith from our beloved Fifth Imam, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. The Fifth Imam was telling his companion, Jabir ibn Yazid al-Ju'fi, famous companion. He said, in mudihta, if someone comes and praises you, fala tafrah. Don't let it go too far. Don't just say, yeah, I'm awesome. No. وَإِن ذُمِمْتَ فَلَا تَجْزَعْ. And if people come and they criticize you, don't let that get to you either. You're a very balanced individual as a muttaqi. Some people, up and down, up and down, up and down. One person likes them, all of a sudden they're up. One person doesn't like them, all of a sudden. It's not how a muttaqi is. They are balanced. In dhumimta fala tajza. And then he continues, the hadith is a bit longer. He says, wa'alam, so know, bi'annaka la takunu lana waliyan, that you will not be a follower of ours unless you do the following. Unless you reach the following status. What is that following status? حتى لو اجتمع عليك أهل مصرك وقالوا إنك رجل سوء لم يحزنك ذلك. You will not be a follower of ours until you reach a point where if all of the people in the city looked at you and said, you're horrible, and you knew that you weren't, between you and God, you knew that you weren't, that it wouldn't bother you. That's pretty crazy. Everyone comes together and says, we don't like you. Don't come here. Don't do this. Don't do that. And you know, if, this is a big if, but if you know you're doing things properly, yes? لم يحزنك ذلك. It doesn't bother you. Okay. And then he says, it's also وَلَوْ قَالُوا إِنَّكَ رَجُلٌ صَالِحٌ لَمْ يَسُرُّكَ ذَلك. Also, if all the people in the city got together and said, you're so wonderful, but you knew you're not that wonderful, لَمْ يَسُرُّكَ ذَلك. That wouldn't make you happy. So, all these people, they love me now. This is difficult. Khutbatul Muttaqeen is not where we are, not where I am. It's where I'm headed, hopefully, where we're headed, hopefully. You know, these are the goals, these are the destinations that we have to work towards. And then he continues. He says, instead, what should you be doing? وَلَكِنْ أَعْرِضْ نَفْسَكَ عَلَى كِتَابِ اللَّهِ. What you need to be doing is looking at the book of Allah and observing your deeds. You're doing with what God is telling you to do? Wonderful. You're not doing what God is telling you to do? Then it doesn't matter who praises you. It's not what's important. Stop letting the opinion of others, the perception of others, the smiles and the praise of others, or the criticism of others, stop letting that dictate your life. Because at the end of life, those same people who used to smile at you or criticize you, they're nowhere to be found. When you need them and you say, I lived my whole life just to get your approval. But now when you need their help, they're nowhere to be found. The Quran says on the Day of Judgment, the powerful kuffar and mushrikeen who led the weaker ones tell them, they say, listen, we used to follow you. Why don't you help us out today? And they say, listen, today we can't even do anything. You followed me, you were doing things for my approval, my opinion mattered to you, that's your fault. I can't help you with that. You shouldn't have lived your life like that. This is why the Sixth Imam, he has a hadith in which he is narrating to Hisham. There were two Hishams who were companions of the Sixth Imam. There was Hisham ibn Hakam and there was Hisham ibn Salim. Those are two different Hishams, both of them heavyweights. Both of them very close companions of the Sixth Imam. They used to call them Hishamain, the two Hishams, yes? They each have their own story and their own characteristics. He said to Hisham, this one is Hisham ibn Hakam. He said, Ya Hisham, this is to understand how you have to be careful not to let the opinions of others sway you in life. He said, Ya Hisham, لو كان في يدك جوزة, if you're holding in your hand something has no value at all, like a rock, a stone, a little walnut, a little something. If you were holding that in your hands, وَقَالَ النَّاسِ فِي يَدِكَ لُؤْلُؤَةٌ, people said, what you have in your hand is a pearl. The Imam said, مَا كَانَ يَنْفَعُكَ. It's not going to help you. You still have a walnut in your hand. You still have something that has no value in your hand. Just everyone might come and say, you have a pearl in your hand. This is very valuable. وَأَنْتَ تَعْلَمُ أَنَّهَا جَوْزَةٌ, and you know it's not that valuable. It doesn't matter. Let all the people come and say, this is very valuable. It's not valuable. Then he continued, وَلَوْ كَانَ فِي يَدِكَ لُؤْلُؤَةٌ. This is the one I want to emphasize for us living in this part of the world, and I'll be wrapping up. وَلَوْ كَانَ فِي يَدِكَ لُؤْلُؤَةٌ, and if in your hands you hold a pearl, in your hands you have something very valuable. وَقَالَ النَّاسِ إِنَّهَا جَوْزَةٌ, and people said, no, it's a walnut, it's nothing. It's a rock. It's a stone. مَا ضَرَّكَ. They're not taking anything away from you. It's still a pearl in your hand. Doesn't matter what people say. You're still holding on to something that is very valuable. And our faith and our teachings in Islam, brothers and sisters, is that lu'lu'atun, is that pearl. And of course, our younger generation is moving in that direction of moving more towards the walnuts. Not recognizing this is a pearl and moving just, yeah, this is a walnut. Islam is like this thing. It's trouble. You know, you have to cover yourself. You have to pray. You have to fast. It's this thing. Instead of understanding that's a pearl that other people are deprived of, they're moving more towards what? It's just useless. It's just a burden. It's something that you just can't do a bunch of stuff because of. You can't party, you can't listen to this music, you can't attend this gathering, you can't drink this, you can't have, I don't know, this McDonald's whatever, and you can't have that, and this is the direction that we're moving in. And a part of it is because we haven't given them a proper perception of their religion. That's on us in reality. But it's important for us to understand, if the whole world gets together and says, yeah, this Islam is backwards, it's oppressive, it tells you to dress this way, tells you have to bow down. If the whole world gets together and says, this is useless, it's a walnut, no, I know, this is a pearl in my hand. It's a pearl, other people are deprived of it. مَا ضَرَّكَ وَأَنْتَ تَعْلَمُ أَنَّهَا لُؤْلَأَةٌ. If you know that it's a pearl in your hand, you know how valuable it is, doesn't matter if all the people in the world come and tell you that you're holding what in your hand? You're holding a walnut in your hand. There is more to be said about this, about how we react to the praise that we are given. Inshallah, that I will leave for next week. With that, inshallah, I'll bring tonight's talk to an end. Just a couple quick announcements. Tomorrow night, inshallah, we will be having the general body meeting at 7 p.m. And inshallah, Saturday and Sunday, the course on the secrets of Salat for those who are interested to sign up. Recite aloud salawat, please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Salawat. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم إني أسألك برحمتك التي وسعت كل شيء وبقوتك التي كحرت بها كل شيء وخزلها كل شيء وزللها كل شيء وبجبروتك التي غلبت بها كل شيء وبعزتك التي لا يقوم لها شيء وبعظمتك التي ملأت كل شيء وبسلطانك الذي على كل شيء وبوجهك الباقي بعد فناء كل شيء وبأسمائك التي ملأت أركان كل شيء وبعلمك الذي أحاط بكل شيء وبنور وجهك الذي أضاء له كل شيء. يا نور يا قدوس يا نور يا قدوس يا نور يا قدوس
يا أول الأولين ويا آخر الآخرين. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تحت كل اسم. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل النكام. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تغير النعم. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تحبس الدعاء. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل البلاء. اللهم اغفر لكل ذنب أذنبته وكل خطيئة أخطأتها. اللهم إني أتقرب إليك بذكرك وأستشفع بك إلى نفسك وأسألك بجودك أن تدنيني من قربك وأن تجزئني شكرك وأن تلحمني ذكرك. اللهم إني أسألك سؤال خاضع متذلل خاشع أن تسامحني وترحمني وتجعلني بك اسمك راضيا قانعا وفي جميع الأحوال متواضعا. اللهم وأسألك سؤال من اشتدت فاقته وأنزل بك عند الشدائد حاجته وأزم فيما عندك رغبته. اللهم أزم سلطانك وعلى مكانك وخفي مكرك وظهر أمرك وغلب كحرك وجرت قدرتك ولا يمكن الفرار من حكومتك. اللهم لا أجد لذنوبي غافرا ولا لكبائه ساترا ولا لشيء من عملي الكبيح بالحسن مبدلا غيرك. لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك وبحمدك ظلمت نفسي ظلمت نفسي ظلمت نفسي وتجرأت بجهلي وسكنت إلى قديم ذكرك لي ومنك علي. اللهم مولاي كم من قبيح سترت وكم من فادح من البلاء أكلت وكم من إسار وكيت وكم من مكروه دفعت وكم من ثناء جميل لست أحلا له نشرت. اللهم أزم بلائي وأفرت بي سوء حالي وكسرت بي أعمالي وكدأت بي أغلالي وحبسني عن نفعي بعد أماني وخدتني الدنيا بغرورها ونفسي بجنايتها ومثالي يا سيدي فأسألك بعزتك أن لا يحجب عنك دعائي سوء أملي وفعالي ولا تفضحني بخفي ما اطلعت عليه من سري ولا تعاجلني بالعقوبة على ما عملته في خلواتي من سوء فعلي وإساءتي ودوام تفريطي وجهالتي وكثرة شهواتي وغفلتي وكن اللهم بعزتك في كل الأحوال رؤوفا ولي في جميع الأمور أطوفا إلهي وربي من غيرك أسأله كشف ضري والنظر في أمري إلهي ومولاي أجريت علي حكما اتبعت فيه هوى نفسي ولم أحترس فيه من تزيين عدوي فغرني بما أحوى وأسأله على ذلك القضاء فتجاوزت بما جرى علي من ذلك بعض حدودك وخالفت بعض أوامرك فلك الحمد علي في جميع ذلك ولا حجة لي فيما جرى علي فيه قضاؤك وألزمني حكمك وبلاؤك وقد أتيتك يا إلهي بعد تقصيري وإسرافي على نفسي معتذرا نادما منكسرا مستكيلا مستغفرا منيبا مكرا مذعنا مؤترفا لا أجد مفرا مما كان مني ولا مفرا ولا مفزعا أتوجه إليه في أمري غير قبولك عذري وادخالك إياي في سعة من رحمتك اللهم فاقبل عذري وارحم شدة ضري وفكني من شد وصاكي يا رب ارحم ضعف بدني يا رب ارحم ضعف بدني يا رب ارحم ضعف بدني وركة جلدي ودكة عزمي يا من بدا خلقي وذكري وتربيتي وبري وتغذيتي أبني لابتداء كرمك وصالف برك بي يا إلهي وسيدي وربي أتراك معذبي بنارك بعد توحيدك وبعد ما انتوى عليه قلبي من معرفتك ولهجابه لساني من ذكرك واعتقده زميلي من حبك وبعد صدق ترافي ودعائي خاضعا لربوبيتك هيخات أنت أكرم من أن تزيئ من ربيت أو تبعد من أدنيت أو تشرد من آويت أو تسلم إلى البلاء من كفيته ورحمت وليت شعري يا سيدي وإلهي ومولاي أتسلط النار على وجوه خرنت لعظمتك الساجدة وعلى ألسن نطقت بتوحيدك صادقة وبشكرك مادحة وعلى قلوب اعترفت بإلهيتك محققة وعلى زمار حوت من العلم بك حتى صارت خاشعة، وعلى جوارح سعت إلى أوطان تأبدك طائعة، وأشارت باستغفارك مزئنا. ما هكذا الظن بك، ولا أخبرنا بفضلك عنك يا كريم يا رب، يا كريم يا رب، يا كريم يا رب. وأنت تعلم ضعفي أن قليلا من بلاء الدنيا وعقوباتها، وما يجري فيها من المكاره على أهلها، على أن ذلك بلاء ومكروه، قليل مكسور، يسير بقاؤه، كثير مدته. فكيف احتمالي لبلاء الآخرة وجليل مكوء المكاره فيها، وهو بلاء تطول مدته ويدوم مقامه، ولا يخفف عن أهله، لأنه لا يكون إلا عن غضبك وانتقامك وسخطك. وهذا ما تقوم له السماوات والأرض يا سيدي. فكيف بي وأنا عبدك الضعيف الذليل الحقير المسكين المستكين. يا إلهي وربي وسيدي ومولاي، لأي الأمور إليك أشكو، ولما منها أزج وأبكي، لأليم العذاب وشدته، أمنة للبلاء ومدته. فلئن سيرتني للعقوبات مع أعدائك، وجمعت بيني وبين أهل بلائك، وفرقت بيني وبين أحبائك وأوليائك، فهبني يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي وربي. صبرت على عذابك، فكيف أصبر على فراقك؟ وهبني صبرت على حر نارك، فكيف أصبر على النظر إلى كرامتك؟ أم كيف أسكن في النار ورجائي عفوك؟ فبعزتك يا سيدي ومولاي أقسم صادقا، لئن تركتني ناتك لأزجن إليك بين أهلها ضجيج العاملين، ولا أصرخن إليك صراخ المستصرخين، ولا أبكين إليك بكاء الفاقدين، ولا أنادينك أين كنت يا ولي المؤمنين، يا غاية آمال العارفين، يا غياث المستغيثين، يا غياث المستغيثين، يا غياث المستغيثين، يا حبيب قلوب الصادقين، ويا إله العالمين. أفتراك سبحانك يا إلهي وبحمدك تسمع فيها صوت عبد مسلم سجن فيها بمخالفته، وذاك طعم عذابها بمعصيته، وخبث بين أطباقها بجرمه وجريرته، وهو يزج إليك زجيج مؤمل رحمتك، ويناديك بلسان أهل توحيدك، ويتوسل إليك بربوبيتك يا مولاي. فكيف يبقى في العذاب وهو يرجو ما سلف من حلمك؟ أم كيف تؤلمه النار وهو يأمل فضلك ورحمتك؟ أم كيف يهركه لهيبها وأنت تسمع صوته وترى مكانه؟ أم كيف يشتمل عليه زفيرها وأنت تعلم ضعفا؟ أم كيف يتكلكل بين أطباقها وأنت تعلم صدقا؟ أم كيف تشجره زبانيتها وهو يناديك يا رب؟ أم كيف يرجو فضلك في عتقه منها فتتركه فيها؟ هيهات ما ذلك الظن بك ولا المعروف من فضلك ولا مشبه لما عملت به الموحدين من برك وإحسانك. فباليقين أقطع لولا ما حكمت به من تعذيب جاحديك وكزيت به من إخلاد معانديك لجعلت النار كلها بردا وسلاما وما كان لأحد فيها مكرا ولا مقاما. لكنك تقدست أسماؤك أقسمت أن تملأها من الكافرين من الجنة والناس أجمعين وأن تخلد فيها المعاندين وأن تجل ثناؤك كنت مبتدئا وتطولت بالأنعام متكرما. أفمن كان مؤمنا كمن كان فاسقا لا يستوون. إلهي وسيدي فأسألك بالقدرة التي قدرتها وبالكزية التي حتمتها وحكمتها وغلبت من عليه أجريتها أن تهب لي في هذه الليلة وفي هذه الساعة كل جرم أجرمته وكل ذنب أذنبت وكل قبيح أسررت وكل جهل عملت كتمته أو أعلنت أخفيته أو أظهرت وكل سيئة أمرت بإثباتها الكرام الكاتبين الذين وكلتهم بحفظ ما يكون مني وجعلته شهودا علي مع جوارحي وكنت أنت الرقيب علي من ورائهم والشاهد لما خفي عنهم وبرحمتك أخفيته وبفضلك سترت وأن توفر حظي من كل خير أنزلت أو إحسان فضلت أو بر نشرت أو رزق بسطت أو ذنب تغفر أو خطأ تستر. يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي ومالك ركي، يا من بيده ناصيتي، يا أليما بزري ومسكنتي، يا خبيرا بفقري وفاقتي، يا ربي يا ربي يا رب. يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، أسألك بحقك وقدسك وعظم صفاتك وأسمائك أن تجعل أوقاتي في الليل والنهار بذكرك مأمورا وبخدمتك موصولا وأعمالي عندك مقبولا، حتى تكون أعمالي وأورادي كلها وردا واحدا وحالي في خدمتك سرمدا. يا سيدي يا من عليه مأولي، يا من إليه شكوت أحوالي، يا ربي يا ربي يا رب. يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، قوي على خدمتك جوارحي واشدد على العزيمة جوانحي، وهب لي الجد في خشيتك والدوام في اتصال بخدمتك، حتى أسرح إليك في ميادين السابقين وأسرع إليك في البارزين، وأشتاق إلى قربك في المشتاقين، وأدنو منك دنو المخلصين، وأخافك مخافة الموقنين، وأجتمع في جوارك مع المؤمنين. اللهم ومن أرادني بسوء فأرده، ومن كادني فكده، واجعلني من أحسن عبيدك نصيبا عندك، واقربهم منزلة منك، وخسهم زلفة لديك، فإنه لا ينال ذلك إلا بفضلك، وجد لي بجودك، وعطف علي بمجدك، واحفظني برحمتك، واجعل لساني بذكرك لهجا، وقلبي بحبك متيما، ومن علي بحسن إجابتك، وكلني أسرتي واغفر زلتي، فإنك كزيت على عبادك بإبادتك، وأمرتهم بدعائك، وزمنت لهم الإجابة، فإليك يا ربي نسبت وجهي، وإليك يا ربي مددت يدي، فبعزتك استجب لي دعائي، وبلغني مناي، ولا تعتأ من فضلك رجائي، واكفني شر الجن والإنس من أعدائي، يا سريع الرضا يا سريع الرضا يا سريع الرضا، اغفر لمن لا يملك إلا الدعاء، فإنك فعال لما تشاء، يا من اسمه دواء وذكره شفاء وطاعته غنى ارحم من رأس ماله الرجاء وصلاحه البكاء يا سابغ النعم يا دافع النكام يا نور المستوحشين في الظلام يا عالما لا يعلم صل على محمد وآل محمد وافعل بما أنت أهله وصلى الله على رسوله والأئمة الميامين من آله وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا صلوات.
زيارة اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا حبيب الله، السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب، السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين، السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى، السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله الحسين، السلام على 9 المعصومين من ذرية الحسين، السلام عليك يا صاحب العصر والزمان، السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن، السلام عليك يا إمام الإنس والجان ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليكم يا أهل بيت النبوة جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. اللهم صل على محمد.